Blood. It's in all of us. And yet, it's one of the most mysterious systems in the human body. We've all heard about blood types A, B, AB, and O. But today, we're diving into the rarest, strangest, and possibly most misunderstood one of all type AB. It's not just rare, it's bizarre. And what you're about to learn might change the way you think about your own blood or someone else's. Let's rewind for a moment and break this down simply. There are four main blood types: A, B, AB, and O. These are based on proteins called antigens that live on the surface of your red blood cells. Think of antigens like name tags. They tell your immune system, hey, I belong here. No need to attack. If you have type A blood, you've got A antigens. If you're type B, you have B antigens. Type O has neither. And then there's AB, the wild card carrying both A and B antigens. Now this is where it gets interesting. Only about 4% of the world's population has AB blood. That's 4 out of every 100 people. In certain countries like Japan or South Korea, it's a little more common. But globally, it's still incredibly rare. And because it's so uncommon, it's captured attention for decades. Not just in medicine, but in culture psychology and even folklore. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we need to talk about what makes AB blood such a medical paradox. If you have AB blood, you're in a unique position. You're what doctors call a universal red blood cell recipient. That means if you ever need a transfusion, you can safely receive red blood cells from any blood type A, B, AB, or O. It's a big deal, especially in emergencies where time is short and blood type matches matter. For people with AB blood, there's far less worry about compatibility. But here's where it flips. When it comes to donating red blood cells, people with AB blood are extremely limited. Their red blood cells can only be given to other AB individuals, and as we just said, there aren't many of them. So AB blood is rare and can only be donated to others who are just as rare. But that's not the whole story. Plasma, the yellowish fluid that carries your blood cells, changes everything. Unlike red cells, AB plasma doesn't contain antibodies against A or B. That makes it universal. It can be safely given to anyone, regardless of their blood type. That's why hospitals love AB plasma. In trauma cases, when someone's bleeding out and doctors don't have time to figure out blood type, AB plasma can be a lifesaver. Literally. So even though AB red cells can't go to many people, AB plasma can go to almost everyone. A strange contradiction, right? You can receive blood from anyone, but you can only give your red blood to a select few, while your plasma, on the other hand, is gold. Now here's the really weird part. AB blood hasn't been around that long. Most blood types A, B, and O have existed for tens of thousands of years. But type AB, it likely appeared less than 1,200 years ago. That's incredibly recent in terms of human evolution. So how did it show up? The leading theory is population mixing. As human groups began migrating, trading, and settling together, individuals with A and B blood started having children. Those children inherited both antigens, and AB was born. Some scientists believe this genetic blend might have first emerged during the time of the Mongol Empire, when populations across Asia and Europe began mixing more than ever before. In that sense, AB blood isn't just a medical trait. It's a historical marker, a genetic trace of how people once separated by geography started to connect. A reminder that no matter how different we seem, we're more intertwined than we realize. That's just the beginning. AB blood isn't only rare, it's unpredictable. From how it affects your immune system, to how it responds in medicine, even to how it's been tied to personality traits in pop culture. And we'll get into all of that right after this. Some scientists believe the rise of AB blood may have begun during one of the most dynamic chapters in human history, the era of the Mongol Empire. This was a time when vast regions of Asia and Europe became connected like never before. Different cultures, ethnic groups, and bloodlines began to mix. and that researchers suggest might explain why AB blood appeared so suddenly much later than the other types. It's still a theory, but one that lines up with the timeline A and B had been around for tens of thousands of years. AB, just about 1,000. Practically newborn in evolutionary terms. Now here's where AB blood becomes even more fascinating, its relationship with the immune system. Because AB individuals carry both A and B antigens, their immune system is unusually tolerant. It's less likely to flag foreign red blood cells as threats, especially during transfusions. That's why AB people are known as universal red blood cell recipients. They can safely receive blood from any type. That makes AB a huge advantage in emergencies. There's less risk of a dangerous immune reaction when time is short and matching blood types isn't always possible. But like everything with AB, there's a flip side, because so few people have this blood type finding. Compatible AB blood donors is a challenge, and in large-scale emergencies or disasters where blood supply is stretched thin, it can get even more complicated. If someone with AB blood suffers major blood loss and there's not enough universal donor blood, like O negative on hand, doctors may be in a tight spot. So even though AB is easygoing when it receives blood, it's harder to match when it comes to giving or restocking. Now let's take a short detour into something more cultural and a little strange. In places like Japan and South Korea, there's a long-standing belief that your blood type influences your personality. Think of it like astrology, but based on biology. According to this tradition, people with AB blood are seen as complicated, creative, and mysterious, but also unpredictable and even two-faced. Why two-faced? Well, the idea is that since AB combines both A and B antigens, people with this blood type supposedly inherit personality traits from both groups. Sometimes harmonious, sometimes contradictory. Some say AB individuals are artistic and thoughtful, but also aloof or hard to trust. Of course, none of this is backed by science, but the cultural impact is real. For decades, blood type beliefs shaped social interactions in East Asia, even hiring decisions. There were cases where job applicants were accepted or rejected based on their blood type. There were dating apps, compatibility charts, even matchmaking advice based on AB, AB, or O. If you were AB, some people found that attractive, mysterious, and rare. Others found it intimidating. Again, there's no real scientific evidence behind any of this, but it shows how something as biological as blood can take on an entire life of its own in human imagination. Back to the science, and one more curious fact. People with AB blood often show slightly higher levels of certain clotting factors, the elements in your blood that help it stop bleeding. That can be a good thing. If you get cut, your body might seal the wound faster. But clotting too easily can also carry risks. Some studies suggest AB individuals may face a slightly increased chance of blood clots after surgery, or during long flights when movement is limited. It's not a dramatic risk, but it's one that doctors take seriously when managing procedures or medications. In other words, AB blood doesn't just behave differently in a lab. It interacts with medicine, emergency care, even cultural perception in ways that make it one of the most unusual and important blood types we know. Let's go a little deeper into this fascinating story of AB blood. Because it's not just rare or quirky, it's also connected to your brain, your gut, and maybe even your future. There's growing evidence suggesting that people with AB blood might face a slightly higher risk of developing certain cognitive problems later in life. One particular study published back in 2014 found that individuals with AB blood were more likely to experience issues with memory and thinking conditions that can eventually lead to dementia. Now, before we go further, let's be clear, having AB blood does not mean you're destined for memory loss. These are just statistical patterns, subtle tendencies that scientists are still trying to understand. But it's enough to raise some very interesting questions. What if your blood type affects more than just who you can donate to or receive from? What if it influences how your brain ages, how your body responds to stress, or even how it processes food? In fact, That brings us to something else that's been getting attention: gut health. Some recent research suggests that your blood type might be linked to the kinds of bacteria living inside your digestive system. And since AB blood carries traits from both A and B types, it seems to create a unique mix of gut flora. That means your microbiome, that invisible ecosystem inside you, could be subtly shaped by the proteins on your blood cells. Why does that matter? Because gut bacteria are involved in everything from digestion to immune response to inflammation. And some researchers believe this could partly explain why people with AB blood show different patterns when it comes to immunity, metabolism, or even mental clarity. It's still a new area of research, but an exciting one. Because it hints at something big: your blood type could play a quiet but powerful role in how your whole body functions, far beyond just transfusions. And speaking of uniqueness, here's something most people don't know. AB blood isn't just rare among humans, it's also rare among animals. That's right. Most mammals don't use the same ABO system we do. In the few species where scientists have found blood type-like traits, like in some primates, AB-like combinations are extremely uncommon. So why does AB exist in humans, but almost nowhere else? That's a mystery that hasn't been fully solved. But it adds to the intrigue. What makes AB so different? Why did it show up in people, but not in other animals? Was it a genetic accident or a biological advantage? It's the kind of question that keeps researchers digging. And what they're discovering could change medicine. Let's talk about organ donation. When it comes to transplants, whether it's a liver, a kidney, or a heart, blood type is one of the first things doctors check. That's because your immune system is trained to recognize what belongs and what doesn't. And if you receive an organ with a mismatched blood type, your body could reject it violently. Now here's where AB blood has an advantage again. Just like with red blood cells, AB individuals can often receive organs from donors with any other blood type. That makes them universal recipients in many transplant situations. And in a system where patients wait months, sometimes years, for a compatible organ, having AB blood can dramatically improve your odds of survival. But the reverse is also true. Because AB blood is so rare, there just aren't many people who can receive an organ from an AB donor. So if you have AB blood and want to donate, your gift is incredibly valuable, but the pool of people who can accept it is very small. It's a strange irony. AB blood opens doors when you need help, but limits options when you try to give. And then there's the question of disease risk. Over the past few decades, scientists have found connections between blood types and a number of health conditions. While this research is still evolving, patterns are starting to emerge, especially for people with non-O blood types, including AB. Let's start with heart health. People with AB blood may be at a slightly higher risk for cardiovascular disease. One theory is that AB blood causes a bit more stickiness in the bloodstream. In other words, it may lead to more clotting, which is helpful if you get injured, but not so great if it causes clots in the wrong places, like arteries or veins. There's also evidence linking AB blood to gastric cancer, a serious condition affecting the stomach. Researchers believe it might have to do with how AB immune systems react to certain infections, especially Helicobacter pylori, a bacterium that's been strongly tied to ulcers and stomach cancer. And then there's the brain. We already touched on this earlier. But more studies are confirming a connection between blood type and cognitive decline. People with AB blood, according to some research, show a slightly higher risk of developing dementia, particularly as they age. Again, it's not a guarantee. It doesn't mean something bad will happen, but it gives doctors more information. And that's where the story turns hopeful. Because modern medicine is entering a new phase 1, where treatments are being tailored to the individual, not just the disease. This is what doctors call precision medicine. It combines your genes, your medical history, your lifestyle, and yes, even your blood type, to figure out which treatments will work best for you. Some drugs may be more or less effective depending on your blood type. Some vaccines may trigger stronger immune responses in one type over another. And someday soon, blood type might help doctors predict which diseases you're most likely to face, or which medications are safest for you. It's not a sci-fi fantasy. It's already starting to happen, and AB blood is playing a starring role. Because it's so rare, AB stands out in medical studies. And because it behaves differently with unique immune tolerance and reaction patterns, it helps researchers ask smarter questions. Why does AB blood respond to infection this way? Why does it process clotting differently? Could studying it help us unlock treatments for other types or even other diseases? Some of the most promising breakthroughs are happening in stem cell research. Scientists are experimenting with stem cells derived from AB individuals because these cells tend to trigger fewer immune reactions. That makes them ideal for building what are known as universal stem cell lines cells that could, in theory, be used in therapies for a wide range of people, not just those who match a specific type. It's early stage science, but the possibilities are huge. And finally, let's return to where this story began: evolution. As mentioned earlier, AB blood is the most recent addition to the ABO family. It likely appeared within the last 1,000 years, possibly as humans began forming more complex societies, living closer together and mixing between previously separate populations. Some researchers believe AB blood might have developed as a form of immune balance, a biological way to become more tolerant of new foods, new infections, and new environments. Think about it: in ancient times, if you were constantly exposed to unfamiliar bacteria and viruses, having an immune system that didn't overreact might have helped you survive. Maybe AB blood wasn't an accident. Maybe it was an adaptation, a response to the changing world, a clue written in our veins. So what's the takeaway? AB blood is rare. It's recent. It acts differently than other blood types. And it might hold clues to everything from your gut bacteria, to your brain health, to the future of personalized medicine. It's not just a curiosity. It's a window into how we evolved and how we might heal. And that, more than anything, is what makes it one of the most fascinating blood types on Earth. There's a theory that AB blood didn't just appear for no reason. It might have offered a survival advantage. Maybe people with this rare combination were better equipped to fight off certain infections? Or maybe their immune systems were more adaptable, helping them survive illnesses that could have been fatal to others. We can't say for sure, not yet. But the idea itself is fascinating. And there's more. Because AB blood is a blend of both A and B types, it may also react to stress in a unique way. Some early research suggests that people with AB blood could produce more cortisol, the hormone responsible for our fight or flight response during stressful situations. That might influence how the body regulates blood pressure, sleep patterns, or even recovery after illness. Again, it's not something to panic about. These are early findings, but they're another clue that your blood type might shape your health in ways you'd never expect. Now, let's take a quick look into the future. Right now, scientists are studying the relationship between blood types and everything from cancer to viral infections to aging. Take COVID-19, for example. During the pandemic, some studies suggested that people with type O blood had a slightly lower risk of infection, while individuals with AB or A types might have had a slightly higher risk of severe symptoms. These findings aren't conclusive. There's still a lot we don't fully understand. But it's just one more way blood type might silently influence how we respond to disease. And then there's synthetic blood, artificial blood that could be used in hospitals when real blood is in short supply. If researchers figure out how to make it safe and effective, it could be a game changer, especially for people with rare blood types like AB. Imagine a future where no one has to wait for a donor, where customized blood is ready on demand. It sounds like science fiction, but the technology is already in development, and it could revolutionize healthcare for everyone, especially the rarest among us. So what's the bottom line here? AB blood is rare, it's unusual, and it plays by different rules. But more than that, it tells a much bigger story. a story about human evolution, medical innovation, and the quiet power of genetics. If you have AB blood, you're part of a small, unique club. Your red blood cells can receive from anyone. Your plasma can help nearly everyone. And your biology offers insights that scientists are only beginning to unlock. And even if you don't have AB blood, your blood type still matters. Every type carries a legacy, a function, a potential key to understanding how the human body works and how we can heal it better. AB just happens to be one of the most mysterious, most recent, and most fascinating chapters in that story. Thanks for sticking around for the whole journey. We hope it gave you a new perspective not just on blood, but on how something invisible can be so powerful. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and don't forget, your body still holds more secrets than science has uncovered.